What is going on, everyone? It's GeneralTarheel bringing you the SDL Season 4 Week 7 battle versus Coach GentleTrainer and the Detmold Darkrais. Coming into Week 7, we did get in my opinion, our first actual loss in the SDL against Coach Haku and the Mesmerizing Magirnas. We did lose to Nico 1-0, but that was such an ugly game. I just disagree with it entirely. But I did lose to Haku fair and square. I wish I battled Nico. Like, I'm just gonna keep pointing this out. I wish I just battled Nico without all the hacks, because it was bad on both sides and it was just an ugly battle. But first Haku, we did get an unfortunate loss, so now we are 4-2 with a plus 12 differential, I believe. So we're hoping to bounce back this week against Gentle, and he's got a pretty scary roster. I didn't really like this matchup versus him, in all honesty, with my team. So his roster consisted of Volcanion, Silvally, which is any type, Aerodactyl, Metagross, Kamala, Primeape, Mega Diancie, Thunderous Eye, Ferrothorn, Drampa, and Spiritomb. And his Z user is Thunderous Eye. Now, when looking at the team, his roster, I definitely saw that Alolan Marowak puts a hole into it. And that was basically it. Like, the rest of my team members didn't do much. There was always like a good counter, and he can easily like work them out. I definitely saw things that could easily counter an offensive Lottie, like AV Metagross, which I definitely expected, and that's on the screen for sure. Or a Spadef Spiritomb with Pursuit, something like that. And Volcanion just does a lot. I mean, Milotic's a decent answer that forced me to run a Spadef Milotic. Ferrothorn easily takes on like Sneasel, and then it takes on Mega Beedrill, as well as Dugtrio. And then Silvally can be any typing. I was kind of expecting like a bulky option, you know, just the parting shot and stuff like that. Mega Diancie is just scary by itself, but I have things that outspeed it easily, and Mega Diancie isn't really that bulky. It's just the magic bounce ability is a little bit annoying, so that's something I had to watch out for if he brought it. Aerodactyl was a little bit of a pain, because that 130 speed tier was actually something I had to watch out for. Because normally I have things that outspeed majority of teams, but 130 is just one of the higher tiers. And he's got hazard removal and Kamala and just defog Aerodactyl. So when I was team building, I definitely wanted to kind of revolve around a little Marowak, and I got creative, and I actually really liked how it went. So I'm going to start off with the first 3 basic sets that you see on the screen, which is the Dugtrio, the Tangrowth, and the Milotic. The Dugtrio consisted of a Dugtrio with a Wattmel Berry with Natural Gift, Earthquake, Stone Edge, Stealth Rock. This Dugtrio was meant just to at least trap one thing, do a lot of damage to it if necessary, or if they're within range, it gets the KO. The Wattmel Berry Natural Gift is basically a 100 base attack fire type move in order for me to hit Ferrothorn. Depending on his spread, it would have been doing around 75% or 50%, depending if he was defensive or Spadef based. I was expecting more of a Spadef based, but I think he brought a defensive this game. And Stealth Rocks, of course, because I want those hazards up. Because I do have a spin blocker and a Alolan Marowak for Kamala. And Tangrowth, we have an AV set. We had a Rock Slide, Giga Drain, Hidden Power Fire, and Knockoff. This was basically to be somewhat of a switch in for like Thundy Eye, even though it definitely could add Sludge Wave. If it didn't, I don't know. It also took on some things like his Mega Diancie is mainly what I was needing it for. And Volcanion, if I get him stuck on like, you know, the Steam Eruption, that's only if I get him stuck on it. And then it's also somewhat of an answer to Drampa, even though I don't have too much in order to touch Drampa. And then moving on, I had Milotic here. Milotic was a mixed set with Spadef and defense. This was in order for me to take on Volcanion as well as his physical threats still. It had leftovers with Recover, Toxic, Hidden Power Fire, and Scald. Basically, I just needed the Toxic Volcanion and install it out with Recovers. And then I had HP Fire just to get the kill on. Actually, I don't think it killed Ferrothorn, but it did a lot to Ferrothorn either way. Because I know Ice Beam doesn't really do too much to Ferro. It does like 30% max if he's got some Spadef investment, so I didn't feel like bringing that. But just went with the Hidden Power Fire just to ensure a kill on it. And that's basically like my core-wise, because Doug's, of course, trying to trap an offensive threat, and those two are my defensive answers. And moving on to the star of the show is Alolan Marowak. I had a basically max attack, max speed Jolly Marowak. I had to run Jolly just for well, you'll see in a second when I explain it. But with the Thick Club, of course, we're running Flare Blitz, Earthquake, Low Kick, and Swords Dance. And this has the Rock Hit ability, so I can just click Flare Blitz without taking recoil damage. My main idea behind Alolan Marowak comes into Latios. Latios had Tailwind, double screen, so light screen reflect, and Memento. And if I would have brought Z Memento, this would have been an amazing game. But instead I brought Light Clay. I forgot I could run Z Memento. You'll see at one point in the game I'll point it out that if I ran Z Memento, then it would have been crazy. But Lottie was max HP, max speed in order for me to like speed tie with Diancie, stuff like that. Basically, I just want to get up those screens if I can at one point for Marowak, and I could Tailwind and then Memento, so Marowak still has, I believe it's only 3 turns of Tailwind, but it's still a thing. And then we had Mega Beedrill here. We had U-Turn, Agility, Substitute, Baton Pass. I figured as long as he had Pharaoh around and I had B, he would go into Pharaoh. I get up an Agility, and then I can get up a Sub, because he might just get up a Leech Seed instead of going for a Gyro Ball, because he would just expect me to U-Turn out, because, I mean, Beedrill's not going to do anything to it, Ferrothorn. So basically I get up the Agility and the Sub, and then I can Baton Pass into the Marowak, and if Ferrothorn couldn't break Marowak Sub, I get up an SD, and nothing lives. Like, nothing can kill me at that point. He would have to bring a Scarf Arrow, or if he would have to brought like a Tailwind on one of it, like a Tailwind Thunderous. I believe that's a thing. Maybe I'm... No, that's just Tornadus. But he would have to bring a Scarfer, like, of his higher tiers. It would have to be like Thunderous with Dark Pulse, or it would have to be the Aerodactyl, like I already mentioned, because Scarf Volcanion doesn't outspeed a Marowak +2. But that's why I had to run Jollies, because I had to get the outspeed in order to be 1 point above Aerodactyl that way. Or no, be just enough to where after Tailwind or Agility, where my speed's time 2, I'd be 1 point above Aerodactyl, technically too. But that's where my team came in, and to start off the game, we're finally getting here. I definitely expected him to lead one of his rockers, because last time I didn't bring Defog on Lottie, so you'd figure I'd do the same probably. And considering he has Rapid Spin and Kamala, if I didn't have Defog, it would punish me the entire game. It would limit U-Turn with Mega Beedrill, and, you know, Alolan Marowak Dig 25. So I let off with the Alolan Marowak, expecting either the Ferrothorn or the Metagross. Specifically the Ferrothorn, because I did figure that Metagross was AV. And starting off the match, there was Pharaoh, and I just clicked Flare Blitz turn 1, of course, and he stayed in, thinking Oka would have helped him. I don't, like, I mean, no way a Ferrothorn can take that. If it took it, I'd be surprised. But of course, then he just goes into Volcanion. We switch right into Milotic. He doesn't make a prediction or anything like that. Just goes for the Steam Eruption. Hoping we got burned early on, so we didn't have to worry about any other status, but it didn't happen. I clicked Toxic here in case he stayed in and he had HP Electric. But he did just go into his boy Kamala here, while I just clicked Scald, trying to just wear this thing down, seeing its bulk set. He goes for U-Turn, gets an annoying crit, and then he just goes into Metagross here, which is interesting. He decided not to go into Thunderous yet. So I decided to stay in and recover and scout what he was going to do here. And he opted to go for an Earthquake, and based off that damage roll, he was indeed the Assault Vest I predicted. And I decided to click Scald since he felt like he wanted to stay in, hoping for a burn, and he has Thunder Punch. Luckily we don't get parried, but here I decided to get off my recover, and this is when he decides to hard switch into Thundy. This puts offensive pressure versus me, and now I figured I wasn't positive. Like, you always gotta prep for a special, but like everyone knows I like my Mirror Coat on my Milotic. Even if he was special, I was still making this play, but it was just clever that I thought of it in the back. I went Dougie here just in case he had Electric type move, because he did realize that my Marowak was Rockhead based off the Flare Blitz. No Flare Blitz recoil. So my only Electric immunity is Dougie, and you probably figure I want to keep it in the back in order to trap something and not risk it getting hurt. But the Electric move was obvious, and he actually was Wild Charge in order for me not to Mirror Coat him, which is very clever. But I just go into Dougie here, and then I just get up my free Stealth Rocks as the Savali comes in. I just wanted to click Earthquake. I just wanted to get some damage off. I didn't really feel like Dougie was needed after the Stealth Rocks, because I figured I could just block out Kamala with Marowak plenty. I just want to get some Earthquakes off on this thing and weaken it, since it, of course, doesn't have any leftovers or anything, being the fighting Savali. He goes hard Kamala here. I decided to get a nice switch into my Alolan Marowak because it threatens everything on his team. And he goes for the Wish. Right here, it was a very safe play for me to do this. I was predicting the Volcanion, considering it would get the outspeed on me if he was just max speed, of course. And Earthquake still killed his Komala here, because I had a feeling he was just a little bit of defense, but he was more Spadef investment. And of course we click Earthquake, and we get the most minimum roll on Komala, unless he had actually more defense than I expected. And then he Earthquakes me, and then we get down to 6%. And I figured he'd go Thunderous here for offensive pressure, so I clicked for a Flare Blitz. I wasn't afraid of Volcanion coming in, so we kill the Thunderous. The only reason I wasn't afraid of Volcanion coming in there was the fact it wasn't going to get a Wish the turn after. That's the reason I clicked Earthquake on Komala. If it had the option of getting Wish, I probably would have clicked Earthquake there again, even though Thunderous was a possibility for sure. But that would just seem like the obvious play. And right after he makes that play, he just goes, yeah, that was obvious. But then he goes out to Volcanion. I have to make the switch here. I go Dougie, expecting some coverage for the Milotic. I was actually expecting HP Electric, considering I have Tapu Koko on my team. That way he could, in the electric terrain, if he was like a spec set, he actually did around 75% to Milotic. Spec's modest. But he turns out just to do a little bit of damage here. I still wasn't sure if he was Scarf or if he was some other variant, so I stayed in. And he was Scarf, so he killed Dougie here. And this is when I decided to go hard Latios. And this is where I click Light Screen, getting up those night screens. I guess he wanted to sack Savali, but this is a Lati without any attacking moves. I decided to get up both screens here while he goes for the Parting Shot. I believe he goes hard Komala. Yep. And right here I go for the Tailwind as he goes for the Wish. And basically, if I had Z Memento right here, as I went for it, because I felt like I could go into Marowak if he made a switch. Really wasn't sure what he was going to go for here, but he decided, or no, what am I saying? If I had Z Memento here, I would have went into Alolan Marowak. Health would have been filled up. I don't know if it goes all the way or if it's just half health. It's probably just half health. Or maybe it's full. Either way, Alolan Marowak could have plenty of health, and with those 3 turns of Tailwind, it would have gotten 3 kills. Unless he just predicted me very well. Which was very unfortunate. Since Komala was at 100, Alolan Marowak actually couldn't kill. So I had to go into Mega Beedrill here, click U-turn. I wasn't sure if he was going for Rapid Spin here or Earthquake, considering the threat that it is. So I went into Tangrowth. I didn't want to risk Marowak, even though that would have been the better play, because he did Rapid Spin here. Because that was more important to his Volcanion, which is his only option of winning at this point. Even though Scarf Volcanion does not outspeed Beedrill, but Tangrowth does get the outspeed due to Tailwind, and Knockoff does kill Komala. He decides to go into Savali here and just goes for a Parting Shot, which is pretty clever, because I clicked Giga Drain hoping just to take it down, but he goes Metagross here. And then I just decide to go for the Knockoff, as he decides to just go for the strong Meteor Mash, but with the Reflect Up we eat that. And then we get rid of his Assault Vest here, so Milotic can do a little bit more Scald damage to it. And our Light Screen does show to run off, so Volcanion can definitely put in work. He makes a nice switch into Savali. I wanted to click Knockoff here again in case he went for another Parting Shot, just so it would force him to go Metagross instead of Volcanion, so he could keep his Scarf. But he gets Flamethrower and he gets the Burn, which is kind of sucky. But then we just go hard Milotic here, because Milotic really eats anything. He gets another crit, which is very strange. You got a lot of crits this battle. Most of them didn't matter. Just about any of them didn't really matter, but they're still annoying. Because damage rolls are damage rolls. But, click Toxic, just in case he wanted to get the, Water Absorb. He didn't make the play much, surprisingly. Once again, I clicked Recover to see what his play was. Whether he wanted to go for the Water Absorb play again. And he still didn't. So I just decided to click Scald, hoping for the burn, and we're still not getting it. He's trying to get the attack raise with Meteor Mash. So I'm just trying to get this Scald burn, and we still don't get it on the second one. And Thunder Punch puts me all the way down. And I still got leftovers, but I want to click Recover here in case he made the switch again. He's still not making the Water Absorb switch, and then he gets the Para here on the Thunder Punch, and this scared the crap out of me. I thought I was going to get hacked out and lose here, but Marble Scale, of course, helps us with the bulk, and then we get the recover off, which is very nice. And now I just decide to, I believe I just click Scald here instead of getting off another recover. I just didn't want to risk it. Of course, this does allow him to go freely into Volcanion, but he opted Savali, and I didn't know his last move, so I decided to go into Marowak to see the sack, or just to get a sack off. And once I realized that he just had special and he didn't have anything else, that was kind of easier. Unfortunately, I wish I had, Poison Jab on here with Beedrill, because that would have been just easier. I could have just Poison Jab, sack B, and then Milotic could have won. Or not won, it actually would have been scary at that point. So it was actually better play, but still, we get the U-turn off on the Savali, and we go into Milotic, because we eat anything from him. He's not going for Shadow Ball. He gets another crit, which actually risks the possibility of me dying to 2 Shadow Balls after a para, which actually really would have mattered. But we get a recover off on his Volcanion switch. And right here, I get to go freely for the Toxic, knowing he can't do too much to me. And we're just going to click recover after this following turn as he just tries to get off more damage, hoping for a double crit or something of the sort, or a para. And he makes the switch into Savali here, which I should have predicted, but it's okay. I just kept spamming recover because I didn't want to risk anything. I was just playing it safe at this point because the para could screw me over. But he just clicks Shadow Ball here, and I clicked HP Fire just in case he went Volcanion. He didn't get any health regen. And then freely goes into Volcanion here, but because of the Spadef drop, I didn't want to risk it, so I decided to go into Beedrill and just sack it off. As he clicks Fire Blast, which is completely fine. And then Milotic is just capable of stalling this out right here, even though he does get 2 crit Fire Blast right here, which is kind of ridiculous. It didn't really matter, but if I got parried into those crits, that would have been awful. I actually would have hated this game, in all honesty. Yeah, see, 2 Fire Blast crits, but Milotic can just basically recover these off, and then we're basically good to go at this point, as no matter what, he's going down to Toxic this following turn. A crit can't kill me. And there we go, as Milotic gets paralyzed. But we pick up a nice 2-0 versus Gentle. And we get a few kills with that game, with Alolan Marowak picking up 2. Milotic picked up 3, and then we had Tangrowth picking up the knockoff kill on the Komala. So we are now 5-2 with a plus 14 differential, I believe. Let me double check that. I believe we're plus 14 because we were plus 12. Yeah, we're plus 14 differential, which is pretty good. We're tied with Loris in the overall league standings, which isn't bad. We could have gotten a lot higher on here if we got that roll on Kamala or if I had Z Memento, but we still got the win in the end, so I'm not going to complain about it too much. It's just differential will be helpful considering I did get losses that I want to come back from. But we're definitely still doing good in our league. Still at, or we're tied at the top of the conference right now, so that's not too bad. But make sure to check out the APA that I had for this week, see how we're doing in there. And make sure to check out the video for next week for week 8 of the SDL. And that'll be it for me. Make sure to sub, like, share, deuces.